Hello, and happy holidays to all our friends out there in the financial advisory group universe. We appreciate you sticking with us for another year as we come into our final. I think, Ben, this is our third version of Rapid
Y-
Fire, sort of our new
Yeah, th
changing wheel of
third
the year.
third rapid fire, I think. If you call this a rapid fire, we're not gonna full disclosure, there's not gonna be any charts this time around. So we'll decide afterwards if it's gonna be an official rapid fire.
Well, I think we'll call it one so that way we can have three done. But I think, as Ben hinted at, right, our goal is to make this one a little bit different, right? As we head into year end, look back a little bit as opposed to, boring you with charts. And we're all have enough other stuff to worry about with the holidays coming up. So I'll throw it right back to Ben, right? As we wrap up the year, Ben, what did you learn this year? What's the biggest thing that you took from 2024?
2024 was a lot. It was a big learning year for me. As a lot of you know, this is my second year with Financial Advisory Group. First one was a lot of just learning the operational stuff, paperwork, all that. But I think my second year was more focused on client relationships and just trying to figure out how to best, move around with different talking points, things like that. And coincidentally, it was an election year, so it was a very good learning year. It was just trying to figure out how to be educational, not being biased towards any side, and just trying to talk through those interesting election conversations. I think that's the biggest thing I learned this year.
Yeah, and I think, and Ben and I talked about it having not been through an election year in this role yet, of you learn, like you hear lots about them until you actually go through them, right? But you learn a lot more going through it than reading about it. Just a quick thing to also, Ben learned how to get married in 2024. I'll throw a little congratulations to him, and how to buy a house. So Ben had a pretty darn big year in 2024.
Yeah, so I learned how to fix some things in the house, paint walls, tear up carpet, all that.
Yep, the joys of home ownership. Uh,
Yeah.
and I guess a quick for me, right? I guess Ben hinted at this as his second year. Actually, this marked my 25th year with the firm, which sort of hit me a little bit that it's been 25 years that I've been able to work with a lot of you and with this amazing company. So thank you. But I think the thing I learned this last really year or two is, man, do we hate inflation? I mean, I learned more than anything that dominated the conversation for 2 years, and it made sort of blocked our view of any positive. If we just, it's very hard to accept the fact that the price of some goods went up, and sort of learn that that's an emotional, psychological thing to deal with. So I learned a lot of, how to deal with inflation, that it is real. In my lifetime, I never really had to deal with it to this extent. So again, something I learned in 2024. So hopefully, right, every year we learn something and makes us better. And as sort of we transition to that last year at this time, the video that we did was we created a naughty and nice list. So as Ben and I were talking about that, Ben had some different thoughts as to how we wrap up 2024.
Yeah, and this you'll probably kind of guess where we're going with this, but through all of our video series, we try and be optimistic and not dwell on the bad things. So we figured we'd continue that into this year's wrap-up video. Last year we did the naughty and nice list, but this year I think we're gonna bag the naughty because this year has been very good in many different ways, and we figured why talk about the naughty things when we can just talk about everything that's happened that's good on the nice list. So to start off, the one that everyone thinks about, we talk about in every meeting, but the stock market. Stock market is up, even a very conservative portfolio is up over 20%. The S&P is up close to 30% on this year. So everything's, at least from my perspective, everyone's probably happy that their portfolio growth is on the nice list.
Good.
Um,
And I think, right, as we looked back, it's part of the way we framed this was, what if coming into the year someone would have told you these things were going to happen, right? And I think that's, like Ben said, there's enough negative stuff. There's not many people who tell you, hey, next year's going to be good, right? It's, hey, here's what if the bad things can happen. And I think our view is, what if we could go back a year and say, what if someone told you, like Ben just said, the returns you got, we would have been happy, right? Probably wouldn't have believed him. And what if someone would have told you on the second point of the consumer just continues to be strong, right? I mentioned before we don't like inflation. we complain about inflation, but man, do we just keep spending, right? That we'll say costs a lot to go out to eat. We talk about this in almost every meeting. We say, man, it costs a lot to go out to eat. You know, we are going to set a blow away record for the amount of money we're spending on eating out at restaurants this year. Blow away. So we're complaining things cost more, but because the job market stayed steady and there's income out there, you're sick of us saying it. If there's a lot of people working and they're making more money than ever, that means there's more income. And Ben's heard me ask this question a million times. Ben, what do we do when we have income in this country?
We tend to spend money,
Yep.
especially if we're not concerned about losing our job, which I think we haven't seen any big layoffs. So the consumer's in a great position. So that, along with the stock market going up, I think everyone would take those two things at the start of the year in terms of staying invested. Um, and then I guess the last point that we put on our nice list is inflation. You've kind of touched on it a little
Yep.
before, but if at the beginning of the year we told you that inflation was going to end the year around almost at 2.5%, 2.7%, I think we'd be pretty happy with that. That means the Fed is doing their job. They're getting inflation under control, and that also just helps the consumer out, and that kind of just leads to a kind of a Goldilocks scenario that with the current economic landscape.
And I think if you learn something from doing these, like what if we told you, right? The idea behind this is coming into the year, there weren't many people saying it's not, hey, there's not going to be a recession. It's people saying there will be a recession, right? People saying there will be job loss. Inflation's not going to go away. What if we could go back? What do you learn from this, right? That the market went up, like Ben said, close to 30%. The consumer remained strong and that inflation would cool off, right? And I know that's a hard topic because it doesn't mean prices are going down, but at least they stopped going up. If we would have told you all that at the beginning of the year, it would have been a hard time believing it because we tend to believe, well, no, there might be a recession. So I think what we need to take from this year coming into it is that, no one knows what's going to happen. So the best thing to do is just realize, hey, let's keep doing what we're doing. And again, I think if someone would have told us this at the beginning of the year, they would have thought I've been called optimistic a lot. They would have said you're too optimistic. But I think optimism wins in most scenarios. So there's as sort of our thoughts for the nice list for 2024. And Ben, there's enough places that give you a naughty list. You can find those if you want to. But I don't think you tune in here for a naughty list at this point. So
Yeah, and we hope the same for 2025.
yep.
So
I,
we will see
as
what
a
the
pause there, not to as to be a sort of not, I wouldn't call it Debbie Downer, but I think there does need to be some talk about expectations for 2025. We're coming off of two great years, right? And this will I won't hint ahead at my sort of my word of the year is well, you're going to transition to Ben and R's word of the year if we had to pick one. But we're coming off of two great years, back to back 20% positive years in 2023 and 2024. So expectations are important for 25. Not that we're falling off a cliff, but just realistic expectations I think are important. And I guess before we go down that path and start talking too much about that, Ben, as we wrap up, we talked about what we learned from the year. We talked about the nice list. If someone would have told us coming into the year these things would have happened. If you had to pick one word to describe 2024 from the sort of market economic perspective, what word would you pick?
well, this is definitely for the market, but also for myself. I picked the word growth. I think growth is a great word, and you probably know where I'm going with it with the intro that I had. But I'll start out on the economic front. Growth. We've had a tremendous market growth. The economy's still growing. It's a pretty strong economy, regardless of what all the headlines will show you. And we've had a lot of growth with the business, a lot of new clients, a lot of great relationships that are growing, and myself personally, a lot of old relationships that Damien has had that I've kind of started to develop myself. So that on the kind of professional front, but also growth in personal life. Like Damien said, I got married, I got a house. Spent a lot of time with family and friends, had some other friends that have gotten married too. So, an all around good year with a lot of growth, both personally and professionally.
Good work. Yeah, and I like that multi uses for that, right?
Multifaceted,
Good tied
yes.
in. I like that. I like that.
Yeah. So,
Um,
Damien, what's your word of choice for 2024?
So I think it wraps up a lot and sort of in the meetings that we have, themes develop throughout the year. And I think one thing that I kept finding myself saying this year is just we need to appreciate where we are, right? So my word is appreciation, right? I think there's so much negativity, right? That we never just sit back and say, man, look where we are, right? It was less than 5 years ago that COVID hit, right? And the economy shut down and we had no clue what was going to happen. Just appreciate where we've come to from that point in time. And instead of sort of looking at, but this could have happened, but this could have happened, is just look back and say, I hinted at we had two back-to-back 20+% years, right? And the analogy we've been using in meetings is if the weather's nice, just enjoy it, right? Appreciate it. Don't worry that it might rain tomorrow, right? Because we get so focused that it might rain tomorrow. Our message is just appreciate it, right? And I think to tie in Ben's personally as well, the appreciation of being here for 25 years, the appreciation of us growing, having Ben and Jake now on board as part of the team, and most importantly, our appreciation to you, our clients, that one, you watch these videos, that some of you do, right? So we at least had some traction with these, and we hope to continue them into 2025. But more importantly, the appreciation of you sticking with us and trusting us. I think that's Ben and I and all of us here in the office talk. We're spoiled that we have clients who trust us so much, and we don't take that lightly. So we just want to say we appreciate your trust and confidence in us. Again, I think and the ask is just look where we are, right? Over this holiday season, appreciate being with family, appreciate where things are economically, and just enjoy life. So I'll get off my soapbox there and end, but Ben, you want to finish us off with any sort of closing remarks?
No, I think that's a good wrap up for the year. And I just want to say happy holidays. Enjoy all the time with family and friends. And yeah, let's make 2025 a good year.
Excellent. Let's make it a great year. Again, like Ben said, happy holidays. Spend as much time with friends and family as possible in the coming weeks. And don't worry, we'll have another couple rapid fires coming out in the early part of 2025 with some possible surprise guests as well. So
Yeah.
happy
Stay
holidays to
tuned.
everybody. Stay healthy and enjoy your time with friends and family.